Hello, Betty Croswick here. First, I want to thank everybody who sent me such sweet and funny and musical happy birthday wishes for my 87th birthday. It's weird in a way turning 87 because now I'm getting into the category where in any gathering of more than a few people, I know I'm the oldest one there because I just am. And it's okay because I also think I have the earliest memories of our times as my generation has. We have memories of the 30s, the dirty 30s depression and the build up to the Second World War. I'm a dual citizen, both Canadian and U.S. But I was in the U.S. during the Second World War, during the significant revolutions that have taken place in our time, which would be the Russian, the Cuban, the Chinese revolutions. All three of these happened when I was in the States, and I remember how enormously brainwashed we were about how evil all of these regimes were. And of course, Cuba has been temporarily excused from being a fascist or a criminal state at the moment, but it was terrible during the actual fact of the Cuban Revolution. We were supposed to hate Cuba. How could we hate Cuba when it was such a pathetically poor nation? It was the most illiterate country in the world, and the poorest, and had the most prostitutes. At one point, it was estimated half the women in Cuba were prostitutes in order to feed their families. Now Cuba is one of the most literate states in the world, one of the most advanced in medical training. They send their doctors and medical staff all over the world, and women are a huge part of this. How could we have hated Cuba? At least Canada didn't fall into that trap about Cuba, but I fear we're falling into trap about the other two revolutions, which was the Chinese Revolution and the Russian Revolution. The Russians, they lost over 20 million people fighting in the Second World War. They suffered untold deprivations. They froze to death. They starved to death. They grew ill and died. Enormous numbers of civilians, aside from the fighting, people died from untold hardships. Listen, the Russians are a brave, strong, and proud people, and leadership has certainly made mistakes, but when one thing doesn't work, they try something else. They're like us. They're striving for prosperity, for futures for their children, for literacy, for healthcare. And China speaks for itself. China has, from the long march of Mao Zedong through the Chinese provinces, talking to really terribly impoverished people, impoverished from the war, from the Japanese occupation. Mao Zedong and his group talked to them and gave them a hope for a different kind of future. And they have certainly made strides in their ability to take care of their people. Why should we hate them? Why should we hate Russia? This is crazy. But the United States and the Pentagon, the CIA, Obama, they evidently hate Russia. Russia should be destroyed. And Harper is going right in with this line of thinking. I'm very worried about it because China would never allow Russia to be fired upon or invaded without retaliation. And both China and Russia are nuclear nations, and they have a lot more experience with the entire population fighting invaders than the United States or the other European country has. So this is just absolutely crazy. Think about this. A vote for Harper, in my opinion, is a vote for war. Anybody but Harper. Okay, thanks. Thanks to my producer, Marion Crossweek, my text editor, Peter Miller. And till next time, thank you. Bye.